Webinar started. Okay, away we go. All right, let's, Madam Clerk, let's start this meeting off with a roll call, please.
Excuse me,
Bless you.
I'm so sorry. Mayor Lawson,
Here.
Councilmember Abbott,
Here.
Councilmember Vanderwell,
Here.
Councilmember Anderson,
Here.
Councilmember Bybee,
Here.
Councilmember Dare,
Here.
City Manager Cruz,
Here.
City Attorney Chad Adams.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's start off with opening ceremonies and Pastor Lee Nish. Lee, are you here?
I did email him this morning and I don't see him in the group.
Okay. Luckily, we have our own stand-in pastor.
Let's pray. Lord, we come to you and we do thank you for our first responders. We thank you for all that's happening as we see our world open back up and businesses begin again. And I pray you give us wisdom as we make decisions. Lord, go before us. Thank you for all of our teachers and those students who are figuring out how to get back into school and do all that as well. We thank you for today. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, thank you. All right, Pledge of Allegiance. Donald, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I'd be honored to lead us in our last virtual Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, let's move on to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment today? Oh, you better do disclosure first.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Due to the social distancing requirements enacted in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Sparks City Council meetings will be hosted in this virtual setting until further notice. The safety of Sparks residents, employees, and elected officials are important to us, and we appreciate your patience as we journey through this virtual meeting together. The City of Sparks uses Zoom, a third-party app, for its virtual meetings and does not control its technical specifications or requirements. Your ability to participate in public comment during this meeting may be impacted by factors like the type of device you use, the strength of your internet or cellular signal, and the company that provides your internet or cellular service. The City of Sparks is not responsible if you are not able to participate in the meeting through Zoom due to these or any other factors. For those watching and listening at home, general public comment will be announced for items 4 and 12.1. If you wish to speak during general public comment, you will need to call in using the phone number provided or join via the Zoom meeting link provided in the City Council agenda. Public comment will not be permitted on social media outlets. Public comment will also be open for public hearing item 10.1. All participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. If you would like to speak during public comment, press *9 from your telephone or use the raise your hand function on Zoom when prompted. You will be called on to speak one at a time, either by your name or your telephone number you are calling from. Please listen carefully as the clerk reads off your name and telephone number. No video callers will be admitted to the meeting. When you are called on to speak for public comment, first state your name for the record and then begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will have 3 minutes. Please remember, any comments or questions cannot be addressed or answered by the council if the topics have not been agendized. Any person who disrupts the meeting to the extent that it is disorderly conduct will be removed from the meeting. Thank you for joining us, and the meeting will now begin. Mr. Mayor, I do have one email public comment for item 9.5.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is from Mr. George Emery. Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson, council members. Our thanks to City Clerk Lisa Hunter for responding in our stead to council business 9.5. The D'Andrea community and respective D'Andrea and D'Andrea Ranch Phase 3 HOA Governing Board applaud and strongly endorse without reservation council's decision to consider, discuss, and possibly approve a cooperative local public agency agreement with Nevada Department of Transportation for grant funding for the purchase of traffic calming equipment per details specified under General Business 9.5. This past Friday afternoon, May 7th, around 5:30 p.m., 3 young children attempted to cross DeAndrea Parkway just west of the second of the 2 roundabouts adjacent to Vista View Park. 2 of the girls were successful. The third hesitated and then darted safely across after an oncoming vehicle braked. The 6 vehicles, mine included, were in the process of navigating the roundabout and were able to stop in time, allowing the children to cross. One of the vehicles traveling west toward the first and smaller of the 2 roundabouts, perhaps coming from the steep North DeAndrea incline, nearly rear-ended a vehicle which had slowed to view the children trying to cross the street. The children were safe, and hopefully they'll use the pedestrian walkway to cross next time. No accident occurred. Speed was not problematic. However, congestion was an obvious issue, a close call. Not unlike any Sparks community, we strive to ensure that all next times have safe outcomes without close calls. We welcome and join the city's ongoing effort to help maintain a safe, inviting environment for DeAndrea residents. Addressing speed, increasing traffic volume, and congestion will evoke our best strategies, but we're confident those challenges can be met. Radar calming equipment is a critical first step. On behalf of the DeAndrea community, thank you for your continued support. George Emery, President.
Okay.
If anybody would like to speak for public comment, please dial *9 on your phone or use the Zoom raise your hand function. Mr. Mayor, I don't see any at this time.
Okay, let's move on to agenda item 5.1, approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Councilman Anderson, second by Councilman Abbott. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 6.1, minutes. Consideration possible approval of the minutes of the Sparks City Council meeting for April 26, 2021. Looking for a motion or additions or corrections. Ms. Spivey.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the Sparks City Council minutes for April 26, 2021.
Okay, looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Vanderwell. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to item 7.1, proclamation ALS Awareness Month. Councilman Dare, you're going to read this for us?
Yes, thank you. This, they actually just did a walk just on the 1st of May, and it went really well. It was at Reno High. We usually do it right here at our Sparks Marina. And with all that's going on, we're not quite there yet, but they'll be back with us. But this is a board I serve on statewide, and just an incredible, important thing for those who suffer from Lou Gehrig's disease. So it says, whereas it is the pleasure of the Sparks City Council to recognize and honor those organizations that seek to protect and enhance the quality of life for the less fortunate. And whereas amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, sometimes called Lou Gehrig's disease, is a rapidly progressive, invariably fatal neurological disease that attacks the nerve cells responsible for controlling voluntary muscles and does not affect a person's ability to see, smell, taste, hear, or recognize touch. And whereas as many as 20,000 people in the United States have ALS, an estimated 6,000 people in the United States are diagnosed with the disease each year. And approximately 250 persons living in Nevada are currently diagnosed with ALS. And whereas every 90 minutes, someone in the United States is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS. And whereas military veterans are twice as likely to develop ALS as those that have not served in the military. And whereas in the advanced stages, ALS care can cost up to $200,000 per year, depleting the financial resources of patients and their relatives. And whereas the suffering of patients and the anguish of their caregivers must be supported and alleviated, now therefore Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, does hereby proclaim May 2021 as ALS Awareness Month. Yay, thank you, sir.
I see we have Jake with us. Jake, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, just real briefly, I thank you to Chris Dare for taking on the job of pronouncing the scientific name of the disease, as it is not an easy one to pronounce. But for the organization, I just want to say thank you for the time. Thank you for the acknowledgement. We put a lot of effort into this, and it is for those of us that are involved in it on the day-to-day basis. It's an aggressive disease and a really dreadful one. And when we can get some sort of acknowledgement and some sort of platform like this, it means a lot to everybody. So thank you guys for your time and your acknowledgement. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's move on to item 7.2, National Bike Month. Ms. Vanderwell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas promoting alternative forms of transportation, such as bicycling, may improve health and well-being and reduce pollution and traffic congestion. And whereas creating bicycle-friendly communities improves quality of life, fosters community connections, improves traffic safety, and stimulates economic growth. And whereas Safe Routes to School encourages students to use bicycle paths and trails throughout the city of Sparks and Washoe County, empowering children to enjoy the out of doors and healthiest lifestyles. And whereas Washoe County School District joins millions of Americans who will experience the joys of bicycling during May through educational and safety programs, community events, and just getting out and going for a ride. And whereas the education of bicyclists and motorists as to the proper and safe operation of bicycles is important to ensure the comfort and safety of all users. And now, therefore, I, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2021 as National Bicycle Month.
That was a kick. That was a lot of fun. Is MJ with us today?
I am, sir.
There you are. Do you have anything to add, MJ?
I wanted to thank you, Mayor Lawson, and the city council members for recognizing the month, and especially for showing up and showing the support over at Lena Juniper. That was our big event for Friday afternoon. But I also wanted to recognize the other Sparks City schools that participated. Mendive, Diedrichson, Whitehead, Dunn, all participated in that bike to school events. So across the entire district, we had 14 different events during those 5 days. But I wanted to make sure the number one highlight that people get to hear is it's not about just that bike to school event and proclaiming it as being a month to bring awareness, but it's most importantly to bring awareness across the entire Northern Nevada to let the public know, look, we've got students on the street, they're riding their bikes or they're on their sidewalk. Students make mistakes, and it definitely does fall on the vehicle driver. That's why the bicyclist is referred to as the vulnerable user, because we want to make sure we're not having these vehicle versus bicyclist or pedestrian crashes. And I do believe Julie Jewell may have a short video to show our prestige mayor and Councilman Dare for joining Lena Juniper students.
Well, I know I probably had more fun than the kids had, but that was a real great time.
If any other councilmen have any, council members have any questions that Safe Routes to School can answer, I'd be happy to do that. Fortunately, we are way low on our numbers as compared to last year at this time. We had 30 students that had been involved in vehicle versus student crashes. So we're very happy to have those numbers way down this year. We also need to thank the City of Sparks Police Department. There was a grant written by Safe Routes to School, and in conjunction with NHP, School Police, and RPD, School PD has been up their enforcement in the school zones. So it takes the education, it takes the encouragement, and it takes the enforcement to round out this program. And we just really appreciate the ongoing support.
Mayor, can I just say something real quick?
Yes, please.
I just want to thank MJ. For years, you have been serving on this, and I heard a little bit now that you've retired and however, as a police, but you're still in there working it and hanging out with these kids and helping so much. I know it means a lot to so many. So thank you for all that you've done and that you're continuing, that you are definitely love what you do and it's so important. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyone else? MJ, thank you for letting me do what I enjoy doing, is riding my Harley. So I think the kids all had fun with that. And I got even a couple of them said, "Oh, you're like the coolest mayor in the state." I said, "Whoo, that's a big praise." It was fun. All right. If that's, we don't have any more. Thank you, MJ, again. And we'll move on to 7.3, 4, and 5. Mr. Kreutz.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and members of the City Council. For the record, Neil Kreutz, your City Manager, here to announce 5 vacancies across 3 of our volunteering opportunities. The first 2 are for the Parks and Recreation Commission. We will have 2 vacancies for 3-year terms that will run through June 30th of 2024. In order to qualify for serving on that commission, you must be either a Sparks resident or have a valid Sparks business license. Applications for either one of those positions will be accepted until 5 p.m. on Friday, June 11th, 2021. The next 2 positions are for the Sparks Civil Service Commission. We will have 2 vacancies there, each for 3-year terms, also expiring June 30th of 2024. In order to qualify for that commission, you must be a Sparks resident and cannot be a city employee or related to one within the 3rd degree of consanguinity. Applications for both of those openings will also be accepted through Friday, June 11th at 5 p.m. And finally, we have a single vacancy on the Technical Review Committee of the Washoe County Home Consortium for a technically proficient non-staff person, it's a bit of a mouthful there, for a 3-year term that will also run through June 30th of 2024. Applicants must be residents of Washoe County. And also on that one, the applications will be accepted through 5 p.m. on Friday, June 11th. To apply for any of these positions, the easiest way to do that is through our city's website, www.cityofsparks.us/get-involved. That's all one big word. Once you're there, click on volunteering for a Sparks board, commission, or committee, fill out the form and press submit. Thank you, Mayor Lawson.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 8, consent items. Do we have it, Mr. Dare?
I move to approve consent items 8.1 and 8.2.
Looking for a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Abbott got his hand up just in front of it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to general business 9.1. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of the mayor's appointment to the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee from the following pool of applicants listed in alphabetical order: Carol Ansberry, Rosine Benna, Eric Brooks, Casey Graham, Clinton Hohenstein, Jessica Janussi, Nicole Miller, Anthony Ortega, Joe Rodriguez, and Erica Schmidt. And the person that I chose was Rosine Benna. So we're looking for either a motion or questions, or Ms. Bybee.
If you're ready for the motion, Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead. I move to approve the mayor's appointment of Rosine Benna to the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee for a partial term ending November 1st, 2021.
Okay, looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please signify by saying aye.
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 Did I say that wrong?
Aye.
Okay. Motion
No,
carries.
I was gonna make a comment, Mr. Mayor. Just thanking so many people for applying for that position. Our Arts and Culture Commission is relatively new, and I think in the beginning, we didn't have quite the large amount of people who knew about us and who were interested. And so I just want to thank all of those who are involved and for the amount of people who submitted an application.
And having read all those applications, there's some very, very qualified people that applied. So I want to thank them also. We really appreciate that. Okay, let's move on to item 9.2. Consideration discussion of possible approval of the purchase of 10 dispatch consoles for Sparks Emergency Communications Dispatch Center from Watson Furniture Group in the amount of $203,699.50. Go ahead, Lisa.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and members of council. For the record, I'm Lisa Brown, Police Services Manager. Today, I'm requesting authorization to purchase 10 dispatch consoles from Watson Furniture Group. As you know, the dispatch center has been undergoing a remodel and expansion to allow for additional dispatch positions. The 6 current dispatch consoles have been used for 18 years and need to be replaced. Purchasing 10 consoles would include the replacement of existing 6 and add 4 additional working positions. The quote includes installation and a 10-year warranty on all parts. If any repairs are needed during that time, warranty also includes freight and labor for the first 5 years. And that's all I've got. Any questions?
Questions from the council? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion then. Mr. Anderson.
I move to approve the purchase of 10 dispatch consoles for the Sparks Emergency Communications Dispatch Center from Watson Furniture Group in the amount of $203,699.50.
Okay. Looking for a second? Second by Ms. Vanderbilt. Thank you. Any further discussion? Chief Reed, are you for this one or the next one? Nope, next one. Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. All right, 9.3. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval of an interlocal contract, AC 5754, between the state of Nevada, the city of Sparks, and the city of Sparks for assistance in fighting wildland fires, July 1, 2021 through June 30 of 2023, in the amount of $45,596 per fiscal year, for a total amount of $91,192. Chief Reed, you're up.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council. I am Jim Reed, your fire chief, and I'm here today asking you to consider a continuation of a contract we've had with the state of Nevada. It runs on a 2-year cycle, and that goes with the legislative cycle, which, like you guys know, is every 2 years. What this does for us is it contains billing contracts with the federal government, with the state, and allows us to go out of state with a state overreaching contract. And basically it's going to cover all the costs when a fire goes on an extended assignment, or, for our local fires, beyond 24 hours. And once a fire usually goes beyond 24 hours, that's when the prices really start to increase. The previous contracts we've had, and we've had this contract since 2016. For example, in fiscal year 17, if we wouldn't have had the contract with the state, our city's cost would have been $505,000. Fiscal year 18, our cost to the city would have been $1.3 million without this state of Nevada contract. Also, this contract allows us access to work crews. As in the flood of 2017, we asked for work crews to help fill sandbags, which was very beneficial for the city. So I encourage you to support this, and I'm here for any questions that you might have.
Questions from the council? Ms. Bybee.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. And obviously it's an important part of our firefighting is the wildland fires. But can you kind of clarify for me the contract, the cost of this contract? Does it cover, I'm confused on what we're paying for. Is it almost like a contract with the state so that our full costs, we don't pay what our full costs in manpower and hours and the cost of the fire, because this contract, the state picks it up? I'm a little confused on
Yeah,
where
so,
our costs are going.
yeah, so basically you're gonna have the cost for the people to fight the fire, the equipment, the aircraft, and the aircraft is where it really gets expensive. It covers that. It is the main thing. Locally, when we use our mutual aid contracts, when we get help from Truckee Meadows, Reno, Story County, all that, the first 24 hours is free. We all just go help each other. But then after that 24 hours, obviously, if it's getting larger, we're going to have to start billing for our people. So yes.
Our costs are substantially more, I would guess, than $45,000 a year, though. Correct? When we're out doing that work, does the state pick up the balance?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So basically, it's like a big insurance policy.
Okay, that's where I was going. I'm
Yeah.
like, I know that it costs more than that, so okay, that clarifies it for me.
Yeah. So basically, like I said, if we wouldn't, in the fiscal year 17, I want to say our cost was $10,000, and if we wouldn't have had that, we would have been paying $500,000 to pay for all those fires and the people and the equipment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for the clarification.
Yeah.
Other questions from the council? Mr. Dare?
Are we out doing wildfire again now? Because I know that, I know we had to stop for a little bit with COVID, and I love that we actually get to do that and be a part of all that with our numbers and everything.
Right now, it's all local firefighting going on. Nothing going out of county or out of the state.
So this is preparation for us opening back up and doing everything again.
Well, no, this is just for local fires.
Oh, this is for the local fires.
Yeah. Okay. So again, if we go back to 2016 and we had the S fire, and part of that burned within the city of Sparks, so we own a portion of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's why even in 2018, that fire got so big, and so that cost was so large, because whatever percentage burned within the city of Sparks, that is what we are responsible for. So this is just for what happens within our city.
We say wildfires. Sometimes my brain goes to we're going up to Tahoe or somewhere else. So that I get what you're saying. Thank you.
Yeah, no, just our city.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Dare?
I'll move to approve. I move to approve the interlocal contract between the state of Nevada and the city of Sparks for assistance in fighting wildland fires from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023 in the amount of $45,596 per fiscal year, or a total of $91,192.00.
Okay, looking for a second. Mr. Abbott, second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Chief.
Sure. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, 9.4, consideration, discussion, of possible acceptance of an offer to settle Jackson D. Dutra et al. Case number 320CV0288 RCJ CLB for $500,000. Mr. Duncan, are you going to take this?
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor Lawson, City Council members. For the record, Wes Duncan, Chief Assistant City Attorney. I have with me Senior Assistant Attorney Barrett Potter, who's just going to give you a quick background, and then we are both here to answer any of your questions.
Good afternoon. The background: plaintiff Kim Jackson was arrested by Sparks Police Department for obstructing and resisting in violation of NRS 199.280 on November 1st, 2018. Plaintiff filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the Sparks Police Department Sergeant Jason Edmondson, who's now retired, Sparks Police Department officers Eric DeJesus and Chris Dutra, alleging unlawful seizure against all the officers, false arrest against all the officers, excessive force against all the officers, and supervisor liability against Sergeant Edmondson. Plaintiff voluntarily dismissed her 5th cause of action, violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and 6th cause of action, a violation of the First Amendment, after the Sparks City Attorney's Office filed a motion for judgment on the pleadings. However, the 4 claims that I just mentioned are still pending and discovery is ongoing. It closes in about 30 days and dispositive motions are due in about 60 days.
And so by way of background as well, during the course of this litigation, whereas Mr. Potter just stated, we're almost done with the discovery phase. So for example, just last week, we took the deposition of the plaintiff and also the deposition of our officers were taken. During the course of the litigation, there was a new attorney that came on to the case. They made an offer to the city to settle the case for $500,000. So as the city's attorneys and the attorney, of course, to the city council, we have an ethical obligation to bring that settlement offer to the city council for your consideration today. And so pursuant to our ethical responsibilities, we're doing that. If the council has any questions about the case or anything else, we're happy to answer those now.
All right, questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion. Don't everyone jump at once.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Vanderwell.
I move to reject the offer to settle the Jackson versus Dutra et al. Matter for $500,000.
Okay, looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Second from Councilman Anderson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. Item 9.5, consideration discussion of possible approval of a cooperative local public agency agreement, AC 5755, with the Nevada Department of Transportation, NDOT, for grant funding for the purchase of traffic calming equipment with a potential cost of $35,790 in fiscal year 21, and with the NDOT reimbursement not to exceed $34,000. And this would be Amber Sosa.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. Amber Sosa, Transportation Manager. As mentioned, I'm here to present a cooperative LPA, a local public agency agreement between the City of Sparks and the Nevada Department of Transportation for grant funding for the purchase of traffic calming equipment, specifically rectangular rapid flashing beacons, RRFBs, and speed radar signs. The City of Sparks currently operates a traffic calming program where neighborhood champions can submit concerns that they have observed in their own neighborhoods. Through continued coordination with the Regional Transportation Commission, the city received a grant for $35,790 to be used to purchase equipment to help our traffic calming program. We anticipate being able to purchase 2 sets of those RRFBs that I mentioned and 4 sets of the speed radar signs. This grant will be administered by the Nevada Department of Transportation and requires their oversight through the purchase process. To initiate that purchase process, the city will need to first enter into the agreement that's before you today. And the agreement, again, just starts the process for us to be able to purchase the equipment. I'm going to share my screen with you. So what I'm hoping you're seeing before you now is an example of those 2 types of equipment just discussed. On the left are those RRFBs, the rectangular rapid flashing beacons that enhances existing crosswalks. It allows the pedestrian to press a button and activate the lights to help them be more visible to drivers. And an example of the speed radar signs is on your right, where the system uses a radar to display the speed of the vehicle traveling at it, and hoping that they're looking at the speed limit contained there and trying to at least make that match. With this grant, we are looking at speed radar signs in the area that you're seeing before you right now. You'll see Vista Boulevard to your left, and we're looking at Gino Martini Parkway as well as North DeAndrea Parkway. And the exact placement of these signs will be determined on the road geometry, landscaping, and where they will be most efficient. This is the second location that has been determined through our traffic calming program where speed radar signs are a good option. This is in very North Sparks. You'll see La Posada to your north. And these are the streets that were included in the traffic calming petition and report that's been done. The location for the rectangular rapid flashing beacons is this area that you're seeing now. You'll see Sparks Boulevard to your left, and you'll see Vista to your right, and this is Los Altos in the middle. These existing crosswalks that cross Santa Anita and Colina, again, are existing crosswalks, and we'd be looking at the RRFBs as an enhancement for safety. So as mentioned, the total for this grant is $35,790. Per the terms of the agreement, the city initially funds the entire cost, and then we would be eligible for reimbursement up to 95%. So for a maximum reimbursement of $34,000. Approving this again today does not mean that we're purchasing them today. It simply allows us to start the process for the purchase. And per the agreement, it may be terminated by mutual consent of both parties without cause should we want to go that way. Approving this LPA will require city staff to be responsible for the purchase of the equipment, and that will provide overview of that process, and they must approve that process so we can be eligible for reimbursement. We do anticipate moving forward with the purchase as soon as possible, and the LPA agreement is attached to the staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, questions from the council. Ms. Pivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Amber. And obviously, I'm a huge supporter of traffic calming and speed mitigation and anything we can do because it is such an issue across the city. I did have a question on the rectangular rapid flashing. I probably didn't get the whole word right, but the flashing beacons on the crosswalks. Is it customary to put two of them on the same street? There's two crosswalks there on Los Altos as compared to putting one in a crosswalk and putting the other one in another location. I just was curious from a traffic engineering perspective, and I understand because I'm down that street all the time, and it's hard to get out of that street if you're trying to drive out of it. So yeah, that's obviously, I think, needed, but I was surprised to see two.
Absolutely. So the placement of those RRFBs, you did great. You totally got it right. Really are based on the speeds of the road, the size of the road, how much traffic's on it. That particular location actually does have pedestrian generators both to the east and to the west. So that we felt that through the traffic report that supported it, we felt that it did make sense. It provided consistency through that neighborhood, and that we're hoping that it really helps a lot of the pedestrian concerns that we've received through there.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Adair.
Yeah, I just want to out loud say it's exciting to see something going on in Los Altos. Have had many people talk to me about that road, and I ask to our citizens out there that are driving that road, I think many do, please let these things work because it's so important. That's an area that we see people breaking the law all the time. And so we are trying to help with this, give you a little bit more a warning and keep it safe. We have kids walking right there, so it's fantastic. And I know the other areas are just as important. So good job and yay for grants. So good stuff.
Mr. Anderson.
First, I just wanted to say, Amber, thank you very much. I know that grant writing is not a fun or easy task, and I truly appreciate your help with us. I mean, we would love to be able to put these in wherever they're needed, but it's hard to fund these, and I appreciate the grants and your effort there to make it happen. So thank you. And then also the location. I mean, we've been having a lot of concerns from the DeAndre area, as we heard in public comment. Some of the accidents up there have been frightening. The speeds of the vehicles that they had to been traveling at to end up through a fence, a small tree, and 200 feet out into the golf course. So we appreciate whatever you can do to help us with slowing down that traffic, and likewise all the neighbors up there. convincing each other to reduce their speeds. But thank you and appreciate your help.
Okay, any other comments? If not, seeing none, we're gonna ask for the motion.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move to approve the cooperative local public agency agreement with the Nevada Department of Transportation for the grant funding for the purchase of traffic calming equipment with the potential cost of $35,790 in the fiscal year 2021, with NDOT reimbursement not to exceed $34,000.
Okay, looking for a second. Ms. Bybee?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to 9.6, consideration, discussion, and possible ratification of the Sixth Amendment and extension of agreement AC 5661 for services between WellCare Services Reno LLC, City of Sparks, City of Reno, Washoe County, and Washoe County Health District for the provision of a short-term housing services for isolation and quarantine of individuals residing in Washoe County who have tested positive for COVID-19 or suspected of having COVID-19 in the total amount of $100,000, with the City of Sparks share being 15% of the total unreimbursed cost. Allison.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and City Council. For the record, I'm Allison McCormick, your Assistant City Manager for Management Services. In March of 2020, the city manager declared a local state of emergency related to the global outbreak of COVID-19. On March 28th of last year, the city manager signed an agreement between the City of Sparks, City of Reno, Washoe County Health District, and WellCare Services Reno LLC to provide 43 beds for indigent persons believed to have COVID-19 who needed isolation or quarantine facilities. Council ratified that original agreement on April 13th of 2020, and the agreement has been amended and extended several times since then. In June of 2020, the number of beds was reduced from 43 to 22 based on observed demand, and the agreement was later extended through April 30th of 2021. As we all know too well, the pandemic continues, and WellCare's services are still needed in the community. Because time was of the essence, on April 23rd, 2021, City Manager Kreutz approved the latest amendment. The Sixth Amendment extends the agreement for WellCare's services through October 31st of 2021 and reduces the beds from 22 to 5 based on observed demand. If more than 5 beds become necessary at some point in that extended term, WellCare will provide overflow beds for an additional cost. The total cost of the extension is not to exceed $100,000. Sparks' share of that is 15% of any unreimbursed costs, or up to $15,000. Under NRS 414.090 subsection 3 and Sparks Municipal Code sections 1.30.010 and 2.20.025, emergency approval of the Sixth Amendment and extension was appropriate for the following reasons. Staff reviewed the terms of the agreement and found them acceptable. The agreement provides facilities for isolation and quarantine for people in our community who are indigent and need those facilities most. Providing isolation and quarantine facilities is in the best interests of residents of Sparks, and the services provided under the agreement were both necessary and time was of the essence. Staff does recommend that City Council ratifies this Sixth Amendment to the agreement, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
Sure, I'll read this nice long one. I move to ratify the Sixth Amendment and extension of agreement AC 5661 for services between WellCare Services Reno LLC, City of Sparks, City of Reno, Washoe County, and Washoe County Health District for the provision of short-term housing services for isolation or quarantine of individuals residing in Washoe County who have tested positive for COVID-19 or are suspected of having COVID-19 in a total of amount up to $100,000, with the City of Sparks share being 15% of the total unreimbursed cost.
Okay, looking for a second. Second by Councilman Abbott. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to item 10, public hearing and action items unrelated to planning and zoning. Item 10.1, public hearing, consideration and possible approval of retaining Holland and Hart LLP as special counsel to represent the city of Sparks and its employees in the Forbush versus City of Sparks et al. Case number 321 CV 00163 MMD WGC before the United States District Court for the District of Nevada. Whew. That's the Miss Allison. I know you wrote that.
I can take credit for that one and the previous one. My apologies. Thank you, Mayor Lawson and City Council. Again, for the record, I'm Allison McCormick, your Assistant City Manager. I'm before you this afternoon seeking the council's approval to retain Holland and Hart as special counsel to represent the city and its employees in that litigation that's mentioned in the title. Specifically, Sparks Police Officer George Forbush has sued the city manager Kreutz, Assistant City Manager Martini, and HR Director Falk, alleging that those defendants violated his First Amendment rights by imposing discipline for violations of city rules and policies based on his activity on Twitter. The city attorney would typically defend the city and its employees in a case like this one, but the city attorney often represents our police officers in other litigation. And the relationship that is so essential to that representation is built on trust. And there was a concern that representing other city employees in this case would drive a wedge in that relationship and undermine that trust that is so essential to the city attorney's representation of our police officers. Therefore, staff is recommending that the city retain special counsel to defend the city and its employees in this case. Jordan Walsh at Holland and Hart frequently provides the city with advice and support in various employment and labor law matters, and she is already familiar with many city policies and procedures that might be relevant to this case. Holland and Hart also employs other attorneys who are experienced litigators and who specialize in employment law and constitutional law and the intersection of those two areas of law. Based on Holland and Hart's experience, both with the city specifically and with the relevant legal issues involved here, staff recommends retaining Holland and Hart to defend this matter. If City Council follows staff's recommendation, Holland and Hart will bill the city each month. Holland and Hart's fees are based on hourly rates. That is a customary billing practice in private law firms. The hourly rates for attorneys at Holland and Hart vary between $205 and $870 per hour. At this early stage of the litigation, there's really no way for staff to predict how many hours Holland and Hart may have to spend defending this case. So we can't really predict the total cost of Holland and Hart's representation of the city. But retaining a different law firm instead of Holland and Hart would not remove this uncertainty because, again, this hourly billing practice is customary in the private sector. Under section 3.055 of the Sparks City Charter, a public hearing is required before City Council may retain special counsel for this matter. Staff does recommend retaining Holland and Hart to defend the city and its employees in this case, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Questions from the council? Okay. Seeing none, this is a public hearing, so we're going to open this up to the public for public comment. Madam Clerk.
If you would like to participate in public comment, please dial *9 on your telephone now or use the raise your hand function in Zoom. Mr. Mayor, I'm not seeing any at this time.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the dais. I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I move to approve retain Holland and Hart LLP as special counsel to represent the city of Sparks and its employees in Forbush versus City of Sparks, et al. Case number 321-CV-00163-MMD-WGC before the United States District Court for the District of Nevada.
Okay, looking for a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Ms. Spivey. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
All right, we have no item 11, planning and zoning public hearings and action items. We'll move on to 12, comments from the public. Madam Clerk.
If you would like to participate in public comment, please use the *9 function on your phone or the raise your hand button on Zoom. I'm not seeing any at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, then we'll move on to 12.2, comments from the mayor, city council, and city manager. Do we have any comments from the council? Mr. Dare.
Yeah, I just want to invite anybody who might want to watch Colo 8 on May 15th at 4 p.m. There's going to be a whole thing there about the Nevada Veterans Memorial being built right here in Sparks for our statewide memorial. Pretty exciting stuff, and you can get on and enjoy. Colo 8, 4 p.m., and they've been honored enough to donate that time to us. So good stuff. Thank you.
Hey, anyone else? Ms.
Mr. Mayor?
Vanderbilt. Yes.
Yes, I would just like to thank Sparks firefighters for giving me the opportunity to go along with their training with their water entry team a couple of weeks ago, where I could learn about the river and the dangers and things like that. So I would like to thank them for that opportunity.
Okay, anyone else? Ms. Spivey.
Yes, on Friday, many of us toured the Nevada Cares campus. Such an impressive facility for our homeless that we were able to make use of our CARES Act funding to really, I think, make a huge dent in our homeless problem here in the community, and the services, the wraparound services, and just everyone working on that. And it is a regional effort, which is very impressive. Senator Cortez Masto was there. I think she was very impressed with the fact this was Sparks, Reno, Washoe County, all of the agencies that'll provide wraparound services, all the contractors who put it together in 112 days, I think. And that's just the first phase. So wanted to recognize everyone involved in that project and continuing as it expands to the services, to Reno Housing Authority, with transitional housing, with the camping, Safe Camp with Washoe County. I mean, so many people involved. And that is slated to open, that first phase is slated to open a week from today, May 17th, I believe. So it's a great collaborative effort, and I appreciate everyone who is involved in seeing that become a reality. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Well, I'm going to just follow up again with the Safe Routes to School Day. It was so much fun to be around the energy of those kids, and, having been away for a year through this pandemic, or whatever it is now, 15 months, it is just fun to see kids out having fun again, and just made my day. So, Mr. Manager, you have anything? Okay. Well, with that, we'll move on to one of my favorite subjects, is adjournment. Thank you. All right, and we got redevelopment.
Yep. Okay, everybody stay put. We have a special Sparks Redevelopment Agency meeting of Monday, May 10th, 2021. Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Chairperson Bybee.
Here.
Vice Chair Dare.
Here. Actually,
Agency members Abbott.
Here.
He's the vice chair, by the way.
Yeah, Council Member Abbott is the vice chair.
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, good.
Agency member Lawson.
Here.
Agency member Vanderlo.
Here.
Agency member Anderson.
Here.
Agency attorney, Mr. Adams.
Here.
And I'm so sorry, Mr. Cruz.
Here.
Chief Administrative Officer Cruz.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, it looks like we have a quorum. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item 3, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
If you'd like to participate in public comment, please dial *9 from your telephone or use the raise your hand function on Zoom now. And I'm not seeing anything.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 4.1, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda for May 10th, 21.
Thank you. I have a motion by agency member Vanderwell. And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by agency member Dare. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 5, we have no minutes today. So we'll move on to our business item today, 6.1. Consideration, discussion, and possible direction to the city attorney and chief legal officer of the Sparks Redevelopment Agency, whether to file with the appropriate court a petition for judicial review and or seek other appropriate legal remedies regarding the Nevada Labor Commissioner's amended final decision and order dated April 20th, 2021, finding that the disposition and development agreement dated December 11th, 2017, between the City of Sparks, the Redevelopment Agency of the City of Sparks, and SWD LLC regarding the sale of real property at 955 Avenue of the Oaks, Sparks, Nevada, violated NRS 279-500. So I have, let's see, who is making this presentation today? Would that be Mr. Adams or Mr. Sendall?
It will be Mr. Sendall, Brandon Sendall, Senior Assistant City Attorney for the record.
Thank you. There he
Okay,
is.
looks like I just got brought over. Okay. Again, Brandon Sendall for the record. Chair Bybee, members of the Redevelopment Agency. This item allows you to direct the chief legal officer and city attorney's office to file a petition for judicial review challenging an order that was recently received from the Nevada Labor Commissioner. The main reason why we're here is under some recent Nevada Supreme Court precedent, attorneys for public bodies can't file appeals or petitions for judicial review without receiving prior authority from the client, which in this case is you, the redevelopment agency. So to give you a little background, under NRS 279-500, if a redevelopment agency sells a piece of property to a developer for less than fair market value or provides a financial incentive to a developer worth more than $100,000, then the agency has to put in the underlying agreement with that developer that development is subject to prevailing wage, just as if it were a public work itself. So this matter involves, there was a 2017 DDA, Disposition and Development Agreement, for the old parking garage that's located at 955 Avenue of the Oaks. It was C Street at the time. It's the parking garage that is now being developed and finalized as the Deco. So back in, I believe it was 2016, the city and RDA staff were approached by Jay Witt of Silverwing about a possible sale of the garage. He wanted to buy it. And the proposal was a cash sale for whatever a future appraisal appraised the garage at. But there were concerns about losing all of the public parking in that garage. It was generally underused for being a 4-story garage, but it certainly was used, especially by the businesses at the eastern end of Victorian Square, around Great Basin, Cantina, that string of businesses along the east end. So during negotiations, city staff instead negotiated that instead of a cash sale, that Silverwing would agree to make the first level of that 4-story parking garage available to the public for public parking for a period of 50 years. That right to public parking for 50 years in the future would be secured by a deed restriction that's publicly recorded against the land with the Washoe County Recorder's Office, and with all maintenance, repair, utility costs to be paid for by Silverwing.
or any other future owner for that matter. So the city and the redevelopment agency had the garage appraised for $950,000. That was the fair market value of the garage. There was a second appraisal for what the value of 50 years worth of public parking on that first level would be. At that point, it was anticipated to be about 100 spaces. The final count wasn't known yet, but that was the assumption at the time, 100 spaces. And the Nevada certified appraiser who evaluated it determined that that would be worth $60,000 a year. Ultimately, there is 91 full-size spaces and 80 spaces, but during the interim, in order to be conservative, the assumption was it would only be 90 spaces. So the assumption was 90% of that $60,000 appraised value, or $54,000 a year. $54,000 a year for 50 years is $2.7 million. At a 3% discount rate, that's $1.4 million. So it was presented to the city council and the redevelopment agency, and based on those appraised values, both the city council and the redevelopment agency approved the DDA, and under the terms of the DDA and the deed restriction against the property, Silverwing, it was SWD LLC, an affiliate of the Silverwing entities, was obligated and is obligated still to provide that first floor of public parking available to the general public. In January of 2020, or about 25 months after the DDA was approved, the Laborers Union local affiliate filed a complaint with the Nevada Labor Commissioner, essentially arguing that the redevelopment agency did not get fair market value as required under NRS 279-500. Or I shouldn't say it's required, but if the redevelopment agency did not get fair market value, then we would have been obligated to require Silverwing to pay fair market, or to pay prevailing wages on the DECO project. Our office defended it, argued a number of legal issues that I won't get too far into the weeds on, but the overarching issue is that promises for future services, as a matter of law, are adequate consideration. If you enter into a contract with somebody and they have to perform a service for you years into the future, and that promise to do that in the future is legally enforceable, then that has value. And in this situation, that value was determined by Nevada certified MAI appraisers. There were other legal issues, like that the union didn't get the complaint in within the 2-year statute of limitations, latches, that the labor commissioner didn't have jurisdiction over the matter, other issues. But when you get to the merits, that was the main issue. At the hearing, city's assistant community service director, Armando Ornelas, testified that Silverwing first approached the city and proposed a cash sale for appraised value, but the city and redevelopment agency staff balked at the offer due to concerns over losing all of the public parking. And Mr. Ornelas actually testified that Silverwing eventually went along with the deal as it was agreed to, but didn't want to provide the public parking and would have preferred a cash deal. And that's important because the labor commissioner actually found that the form of the DDA is future compensation and was therefore a financial incentive to Silverwing under a separate subsection of that statute, in which, if the redevelopment agency provides a financial incentive to a developer worth more than $100,000, then that triggers the same requirement that we would have needed to require Silverwing to pay prevailing wage on the DECO project. So ultimately, that's the bulk of the labor commissioner's decision. Our office disagrees with it because, I'm sorry, Okay. Our office disagrees with that conclusion because future compensation in the form of future promised future services that Silver Wing is obligated to provide under the DDA is valuable, and the fact that it's provided into the future doesn't negate the value of that public parking to the public. And second, just more on a purely legal issue, the testimony at the hearing, specifically Mr. Ornelas' testimony, showed that Silver Wing offered a cash deal, would have preferred a cash deal, and therefore the structure of the DDA as it was agreed to couldn't have served as a financial incentive to Silver Wing. And even if there was a financial incentive, there was no evidence to show that it was worth more than $100,000, which is the trigger under that statute. So really, if anything, our office believes the evidence that was presented shows that the value of that public parking that Silver Wing's required to provide is worth more than what the garage's fair market value was, which was only $950,000. So in light of the legal issues with the order, the Chief Legal Officer of the Redevelopment Agency and the City Attorney's Office requests authority to file a petition for judicial review of the Labor Commissioner's April 20th, 2021 order. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. Do I have questions from the council?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Vanderbilt.
Mr. Sindel, I just wanted clarification. You did say it earlier on. I just wanted to make sure I heard it clearly, that if the current owner sells it, that this deed restriction does go with the property.
Yes, the reason it was formatted that way is because deed restrictions run with the land. That's the kind of the legal term of art, meaning if you sell the property, it runs with the land and the new owner is obligated to comply with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have other questions from the council or mayor? Agency Member Dare?
Yeah, so and would say, what happens if a place like this does not, goes belly up, whatever, that all property come back to us? Is that how that works? How does that work with this kind of a situation where
I think it would depend on what exactly went wrong with it, but the ultimate issue is, and I included this in our briefing with the Labor Commissioner on reconsideration, is if Silver Wing were to not provide this, or not Silver Wing specifically, but any future owner, then that's legally actionable. The redevelopment agency would have legal recourse in that case, whether it's filing an injunction to make them provide it, whether it's seeking money damages based on them not holding up their end of the DDA. There would be a few different legal options for us at that point. But injunctive relief is probably the first one that comes to mind, and I think the city or the redevelopment agency would have a good chance on that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sindel, on just to kind of clarify, this case went to the Labor Commissioner twice, correct? So this initial case came to the Labor Commissioner, and then they came back with an amended decision that was pretty much what they originally had ruled on. So you're asking us today to petition the court. So the next, if this is approved today, that would go to which court, or it says appropriate court for judicial review? We're appealing the Labor Commissioner's decision, and which court would it go to if this is approved today? Thank you.
So to answer your first question, yes, there was an original order. We filed a petition for reconsideration, pointing out some of the legal errors in the order. The Labor Commissioner allowed for some supplemental legal briefing, and then on April 20th, the Labor Commissioner issued what was called an amended final order, which is now the new final order that is largely identical. There's a few small amendments within it, but the overall legal conclusion is the same. So that would be the order that we would be filing a petition for judicial review on, the April 20th order. And it could either go to the first judicial district court in Carson City or the second in Washoe County. Our office has been talking, strategy-wise, which would be best. So the recommended order says that, let me just read it here, it would be a direction to the chief legal officer to petition the appropriate court. That could either be the first district in Carson City or the second district in Washoe County.
Okay, so that's the action you're asking for us to take today would be to petition so we could move this into court since we've already exhausted our appeals with the labor commissioner, correct?
Yeah, well, it wasn't really an appeal. It's a request for reconsideration, giving the labor commissioner a chance to reconsider her order based on the arguments. So this would really be the first layer of an appeal. It's called the petition for judicial review because their review is limited to the record that was in front of the labor commissioner. So as it goes up, the entire packet of paperwork, including the hearing transcript, goes up to a district court judge, and they review it solely on the record and just the written legal briefs of the attorneys.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any other questions from agency members? Agency member Anderson?
Brandon, if you could just help me wrap my head around this. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it completely. So the laborers union filed a complaint with the Nevada Labor Commissioner alleging that we as a city did not receive a fair market value for the property. And even though we're receiving it over time, we're receiving in excess of 3 times the amount that the property was valued at. And I guess I just want to make sure I understand that correctly.
Yeah, the overall argument was, of course, owning the full parking garage is worth more than having a partial, almost like it wasn't a lease, but it's similar to a lease interest into the future. That was the argument. Owning something has to be worth more than having a lease interest in it. But that ignores utilities and insurance and repair, maintenance. So we address those in this case as well, but really the final decision was more along the lines of it being future compensation and not the fact that we owned it and no longer owned it. So that's actually another issue that I didn't want to go into too much depth here, but there are issues with the labor commissioner making a decision on an argument that wasn't argued by the plaintiff in this case, which was the laborers union. And there was a little bit of a blindside on this because we're responding to a complaint from the laborers union and addressing their arguments, and then when the final order comes in on a different legal argument than what was made, we didn't really have reason to present a lot of or really any evidence on the ultimate decision because we were focused more on the fair market value issues that were brought up by the union. So that's a separate, more of a due process issue that will also be raised.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have any other questions? Agency member Lawson?
I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready.
I am ready.
Okay. I move to direct the city attorney and chief legal officer of the Spark Redevelopment Agency to petition the appropriate court for the judicial review and or other appropriate legal remedies regarding the labor commissioner's amended final decision and order.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Agency member Dare.
I second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion, a second. Any other discussion?
Just quickly, Brandon, I mean, this was kind of a no-brainer for us. I don't know how you could twist the facts around the way they've been twisted around by the labor commissioner, but I think we will bear this out in the district court. So it's absolutely the right thing to do for the city of Sparks. And this, if this is the way we have to do public-private projects, get sued over it, I think that doesn't hold well for the future. And I'd certainly like to squash this before it becomes some kind of precedent.
Thank you, Agents Member Lawson. And I would also like to comment too that really the city of Sparks, in looking at that parking garage, I think in working with the developer, we were really considering the businesses that are downtown and our residents. And the reason we didn't just sell the building is because we wanted to maintain that parking. So I think that's an important thing that the city was doing in order to help our residents and our businesses, was to preserve that parking for the next 50 years. And I think that's critically important also. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so we will move on to item 7.1. Comments from the public. Madam Clerk, do I have any comments from the public?
If you would like to participate in public comment, please dial *9 on your phone now or use the raise your hand function on Zoom. And I'm not seeing any.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 7.2, comments from the agency and Chief Administrative Officer. Do I have any comments? Seeing none, I will move to item 8. Also my favorite. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Yep.